welcome back. Now in this particular module we'll be seeing what softwares do we need to install to run all of these packages and to learn Python for data science. Now we have multiple different options, but out of the most we'll be using the software package which is called as Anaconda distribution or Anaconda navigator. Now this software or this distribution is available for all of the different operating systems, that is it can be downloaded for Windows, for Linux as well as Mac OS. Now for that you'll just have to go to Google or any other browser. There you could just write Anaconda distribution. So Anaconda 3 distribution, you can simply type this on your search engine, or as well as you can directly type link as anaconda.com/distribution. So whichever machine you will be downloading this, you'll get to this page. Now this page would have two different options, that is one would be Python 3.7 version and the other one would be Python 2.7 version. Out of this we'll be working on the latest version of Python, that is Python 3.7 version. Now for both of this in Anaconda we have two different packages. So one Anaconda is called as Anaconda 2 and the other one is called as Anaconda 3. Anaconda 3 basically deals with Python 3 and Anaconda 2 deals with Python 2. Now whichever machine or whichever OS you start downloading this software, by default it will show you. Now since I am using Mac OS, it is suggesting me to download this in terms of a Mac installer. Now if you are a Windows user, you will be seeing something like this, from where I'll suggest you to download Python 3.7 version, whichever would be in the left, and from here depending on what bit you are using of the Windows version, download that version. If you are using 64, you can download this. If you are using 32, you can go ahead with this particular version. Similarly for Linux as well, you have only one version available over there in Python 3.7, that is 64-bit. Here you can download any of these installer as well as Power 8 or Power 9. They are not much different. Now for Mac as well, you will be installing the graphical installer. Make sure that you don't download the command line installer, because therein you will not have a graphical user interface to write your code and to see the results. So the best one would be Anaconda 3, which has the version called as Python 3. Once you download this, you will be installing this on your machine. So all the standard procedure, that is go on by hitting on to the next button, you will be downloading this and installing this. But make sure that in Windows you will be asked an option as run as admin. Below that there would be written that it is not recommended, but I'll suggest please check, make sure that you check it, because using that it would be like you will be giving all the privileges to your software, by which it would be very helpful for the machine to access and compute everything on a faster level. So make sure that you give that access and by checking checkboxing tick to the option wherein it asks you to give the option to give the software privilege as admin. Now once you do this, you install this, you can see something called as Anaconda navigator is installed in your machine. You will for Windows you will see that in start menu, for Mac you will see that in the software packages menu. Therein you just have to open this. For the first time it might take some time to open, so don't worry about it, your software has got installed, but it will take some time. It is integrating with your environment. Now once you install it, it opens, it would look something of this sort. This is called as Anaconda navigator or Anaconda distribution. Now from here you have multiple options to choose your IDE, that is integrated development environment. Now IDEs are the frameworks or are the environments which are designed so that you could write your code and get your results then and there. So these IDEs are used basically to write the code and get your code computed to see what are the outcomes of your program. Now we have many multiple options to use as an IDE, but here we'll go with the Jupyter Notebook. So basically Jupyter Notebook as well as Spider, these are the two different IDEs which we use. Many of people use Spider, but apart from that, I have seen that around more than 80% of the people, or we can say 90% of the students or data scientists, go with the Jupyter Notebook. We'll see what are the advantages of using Jupyter Notebook, but yeah, so for now, just keep in your mind that we'll be using this particular IDE called as Jupyter Notebook, which is a web-based UI, which has a web-based UI. You'll be using this to write your code. Now, once you download this, we have certain different packages. So we have certain different packages which we'll be using to run our code. So for example, as we know that we'll be studying NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib. These are the three different packages or three different libraries which we'll be using in our environment. So what this Anaconda Navigator does is it downloads all of these different small modules and keep this ready for you to use in your IDE or in your environment. So this is the advantage of Jupyter Notebook. We'll be using that, and make sure that this is there in your framework. So how do we make sure that it is there? So for that, you just have to come to this environment, and here you can just simply write NumPy. You will see that we have this NumPy over here. This means that NumPy is installed. You don't need to worry about it. And as the description of NumPy says, that it is a array processing for numbers, strings and records. This means that you will be computing all the different data and performing mathematical operations in this particular library. Similarly, make sure that you have your Pandas library installed. So yeah, we can see that there is Pandas. This means that high performance, easy to use data structures and data analysis tool. So for all the tabular data manipulation and wrangling, we'll be using Pandas library of Python. Similarly, third library, which is Matplotlib, make sure that it is also installed, which we can see it's coming over here. This means that we have Matplotlib installed in our environment. Now, why am I doing this is because earlier this was not pre-installed, like we were not getting this pre-installed in a single package. Whatever libraries we need to use, we were getting, like we were downloading them on our own using the command line and then working on it. So if you are using somewhat higher high-end libraries or packages which are not open source, for that you still have to install it externally in your same environment. So for that we go to command line, and in this command line we write sudo install or pip install or conda install. So giving the admin privileges, it is very useful to download it over here. So this is the way in which you can install. If your machine is not compatible to host or to install such high end of a software, then what you can do is, we have one more version in Anaconda called as Miniconda. You can download that lower end software as well, called as Miniconda. The difference between Anaconda and Miniconda is that the Anaconda is having all the software packages pre-installed, and Miniconda does not have all the software packages pre-installed. Miniconda, you will have to install one by one all the libraries or all the packages which you need to download or which you need to use, and then install them. Now that is also a very simple thing. Most of the times we use it in some ideal scenarios, like we need to work on only say 2-3 applications, such as say image processing or something of that sort. We don't need to have all the packages installed. We can simply download one package and get our things rolling. So that is how we'll be doing this. Now once you install the software, we'll be launching it from here. So when you launch this in the backend, you can see that something is running over here and this command prompt is opening. This means that it is starting a local server. A local server is being initiated. It's being started on port 4x8, like you can see over here. And once this is being started, localhost 4x8 is the address of it. And so once it is started, you can see that you have a whole new tab in your Chrome, which is the place where your Anaconda distribution is installed. Now this is a place where we will be writing our code, where we will be navigating to different folders, creating our file, our programming file with an extension called as IPYNB, that is IPython notebook. Now those are the IPython notebook wherein we will be writing our code. So this is it, how to install the software, and in the next video we will be seeing, once we install the software, how do we use this IDEs to write our code, and all the different procedures with respect to that. Thank you.